What's up guys, it's Andy and I'm actually filming this intro after having filmed this video already because I was not feeling very good when I started today after work, and then I didn't know how the ride was gonna go because we're having a huge windstorm right now, like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and our barn is located in a wind tunnel, so I wasn't sure if Elliot was gonna be sane enough to ride, but he actually was so good and didn't have any issue with the wind at all. So today I just have a simple back to our basic roots riding vlog. I'll go ahead and do a little voiceover, but it's just kind of a nice little update. We're about maybe 14 weeks in, I think, since I got Elliot. So we've come a really long way just to kind of show his updates in Flatwork. Some people might think he hasn't made enough improvement in 14 weeks, but I would caution anybody watching to remember that one, I am not a trainer and I'm doing this on my own, at least for now, just seeing how far I can take him. I've been watching a lot of like clinics and other people online, Western starters, English starters, basic dressage, hunter, so, you know, and we're also not just working on Flatwork, we've been doing pole exercises. He's now worked from trotting 1 pole to trotting 4 poles, doing raised poles, cantering poles, and we've actually started over fences at this point, which maybe I'll insert some clips if I still have them on my phone here.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, and a whole bunch in the middle. Shit. Come on, Ellie. Good boy.
Wow. Wow.
Good boy. Good boy. 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfect. Ah. Whee!
So he's been really good, and I feel like his Flatwork is finally starting to come around. He's bending better in the corners when he's not spooking at random stuff, and he's circling better. He feels more balanced. He's figuring out what to do with his feet. His canter transitions were not the best tonight because I think he was a little bit distracted, but once he got going, his canter felt a lot more balanced than it has been, and it's been easier for me to focus on myself a little bit more, trying to have a better posture. I've been having a lot of issues with my back lately, a lot of my lower sacrum being out of place. I've had to go to the chiropractor quite a lot, so it's been hard for me to have good posture riding, and I've definitely struggled with like sitting trot and trying to sit the canter, as well as Elliot just not understanding people sitting on his back that much, and he definitely has more top line and has put on almost the full 200 pounds that he needed. However, he still could use some more top line, and I don't want to do too much slamming on his back. If I'm sore and I don't have good control of my body, I don't want it to affect him by me bouncing around on his back, so I often choose the 2-point instead. But I feel like he's learning how to carry himself now. He used to be very on the forehand, so he was either a giraffe with a hollow back or on the forehand dragging me down to the ground, and now we're starting to find that middle ground where he's looking for the contact and he holds it, and he's getting to the point where he can hold it in the trot for pretty much a full lap at a time without breaking out of the frame. But I'm not too worried about it. I just want him to be ahead of my leg. I could really care less about his headset right now. And then when we do lunge work, we've been occasionally utilizing neck stretcher to help him in the canter learn to put his head down, because he naturally carries his head well at the trot, and then some side reins to kind of help him with contact a little bit. And we don't do that too much, and we don't do that every lunging session. I think in the 14 weeks we've had him, I've only done it twice, so it's not like we're relying on those training aids. I want him to figure it out, and it's obviously taking longer. We're only riding about 3 days a week right now because he's 5. He doesn't need more than that. We lunge about 1 or 2 days a week. He rides 3 days a week, and he has the other days off. Every day he gets group turnout. He's learning how to be in a herd, and he's just getting fat and kind of learning how to be a horse after his time on the track for so many years. And I think he's finally settling in and he's becoming a really great horse. So I hope you guys enjoy this vlog, and like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Share. I am on TikTok. I'll put my TikTok account down here. I've got some like stall cleaning videos and just some fun content on there too if you want to follow me there as well. And let's go on and get to the vlog. So I thought it would be fun to do a voiceover when we went into the arena, because the barrels were not where they had previously been the few days before. It literally scared the shit out of Elliot. So we had to spend some time looking at the barrels before we got on. And it's okay, because I like to encourage him to explore new things. He's more brave with me on the ground than if I get on his back and start to do scary things, but he's getting a lot better, and we're doing a lot of positive reinforcement with his natural instinct to investigate new things, and it's going really well. So when we get under saddle, the first thing I do is we walk a lot. This long, stretchy, maybe sometimes slow walk, but enough for him to stretch his back with me on him and really kind of stretch out the muscles and warm up properly before we go into any sort of flat work or jumping. So we usually walk 1 to 2 laps each way, doing figure eights and some circling. So his first couple transitions are usually a little slow. I'm anticipating having to ride him in spurs eventually, just because his response time is pretty low even after weeks and weeks of practicing transitions. And with verbal cues, it has definitely helped, but he still needs a lot more support. And I think a small pair of rounded end spurs would maybe just perk him up just a little bit to the leg. So we trot around and I don't worry too much about his headset. And as he starts to work through corners, you can see he's naturally starting to reach for the contact. When he doesn't find it exactly where he likes, he'll throw his head up, or sometimes he drags me down depending on the day. And eventually he settles into this nice head frame, which then here you can see when we do direction changes, it's still not quite natural for him to keep that framing. And so he comes up a little bit. But even when he does come up, he's not really giraffing, as we like to call it. And then once he starts working through the corners again, he starts to pick up that head frame. For some reason, going to the right, he always is a little more perky, and it takes him a little bit more time to settle into a relaxed frame. And even when he does go a little more on the vertical, I don't really tighten my reins or hold it there. I want him to self-support a little bit. Um, I don't want to be on his mouth all the time. And eventually he works into a nicer frame. It's not behind the vertical, it's not quite on, it's just a little bit in front, which is the best position that I would like him to be in. And he gets a little anxious. You can see he's now lost that relaxed head frame when he knows we're going to canter, and he can usually tell. I think my body position changes a little bit in anticipation for canter, and I do verbally try to give him a heads up. I always say, ready, and then I ask for canter verbally and with leg, not a lot of leg. And to the left, he seems to still struggle. The right hind for him takes a while for him to realize he has to push off with that foot in the sequence for left lead. But overall, his canter has gotten so much better. He uses all the corners. He's not completely counterbended through the corners anymore. He at least stays pretty straight. And we're just learning how to utilize our space. So here he breaks. I didn't have enough leg. And at first I thought of asking again, and then I changed my mind. I'm like, no, we're going to bring it back. We're going to ask again. Because that first transition wasn't really that great. It looked better than it felt. So here he comes down just a little, and I'm going to ask again, canter. And that one, his leg sequence was a little less confused. And so I'm just going to let him ride that one out, go down the long end, and then I'll bring him back. Right now, we're not doing a lot of endurance riding or building of stamina. It's more so about getting the transitions. And then what's really important is I don't want a horse that just goes to walk and doesn't know how to trot after a canter transition down. So he has to trot until he drops his head like this. And then he can soothe himself into a low stretching walk. And we do this both directions. He's not allowed to walk until he has stretched down into the bridle in trot before he's allowed to walk. I just don't, I think that's like one of my pet peeves. I hate that habit. I hate when people let their horses get into that habit. Now to the right, he's a little bit more counterbended, and he didn't pick up his lead very good, but he did get the correct lead. So we did a lap and then we came around in circle, and we are going to do another transition because he needs a little bit more help. So we came back to trot, and he's going to have to drop a little bit before we go for our second transition. So here he's kind of thinking about it, but we're heading towards home. And then he finally drops into the bridle. And that's when I stop asking and let him naturally move into a walk. And then we're going to do another transition. And I wouldn't be an honest YouTuber if I didn't show the good and the bad. So here I ask for canter, and he just forgets what he's doing for a moment. So he goes incorrect lead, and I did pull on him quite aggressively there because when I had quietly asked, he kept going on the incorrect lead and was pulling me across the arena. So he does only have a French link. It's not a heavy bit. So he got a firm pull because I do not tolerate being dragged across the arena. And then that transition was a lot better. It still wasn't the best. And then he cut this corner here. It's kind of hard to tell from the angle of the camera. So we just circled right away and worked ourselves back into that corner using all of our space and asking him to bend a little bit. And that corner was such a better use of space. So I was really proud of that. And then he has to come down again. So I bring him back to trot, and then I just loose rein and I wait for him to drop his head. And when he's nice and calm, just like that, I'll allow him to walk. And that's pretty much how our flatwork rides go. I hope you guys enjoyed. He always gets a little pat, and we'll see you guys in the next one.